guys, it is Nick again here. Welcome to Writer Analytical Solutions YouTube channel. If you're just joining us now, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button to see more data analytics videos. So today, what we'll be covering is some Hyrox results from 2021 through to 2023. So basically, the data that I've got here on the screen is all the Hyrox races from 21 to 23. What I'm going to be looking in here is all the sort of the average for different categories across different working stations, the running, in addition to the time. So this helps people get a bit of an idea as to what um, what whereabouts they need to be at ability wise to enter a high rocks event and potentially perform well in a high rocks event. I'll be talking based on the data here, formulating data driven solutions and decision making from this data. However, I'll also be giving my own personal opinion based on my extensive experience in the fitness industry. Okay, so just diving into this now here, we are going to go straight to our dashboard. Before I do that, you can see here I've used different functions here to clean up this data, such as the mid function. Basically, these are just data analyst functions in Excel that you use. If you're using Excel to formulate an analysis or a dashboard with visualizations, you use these functions. They can also be used in Power BI using DAX expressions. So we've used a write function here and a len and a find here to extract the location here from the event name. Also added up the totals here for the first and second halves. So just summed the first half and the second half here to get a bit of an idea, see if there was any negative splits there at any of the different major events between 2021 and 2023. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the dashboard here on the screen. Okay, so first point I want to make here, we've got first half versus second half race splits. So we've got all the different events that have occurred here. So if I want to look at 2021 first, I go 21. Okay, so this Hyrox is still pretty new here, only a couple of years old. We can see here the blue versus the orange. So blue represents the first half split and the orange represents the second half split. So if I want to look at Hyrox Amsterdam 2021, we can see that for the first half, the average first half split in this event was 41-21, and the second half was 45-36. So that really presented quite a big kind of disparity there between first and second half. In Dallas, we saw the average in the first half was actually pretty well, it was actually slower than the second half. So on average, people perform negative splits on the Dallas course in 2021. So that's just a little bit of an idea as to what we can sort of look into here. If I want to get this down a little bit further, I can go down here and I can filter in open versus pro. So if I go open here, I can have a look and go, okay, well, open in Madrid in 2021, geez, 39-42 in the first half. And then on average in the second half, they went 46-54. So quite a large disparity there, looking at 7-minute drop-offs between the first half and the second half. Pacing wasn't very good. But if we go to 2023, as we start to see more majors and more experience in the sport, we're not seeing the drop-offs here between the first and the second half of the race in Hyrox. So if we look at Dubai, for example, that's sort of like a bit of an outlier because it's um, you know, first half and on average was 44 minutes, and then second half on average was 50 minutes. So, 6 minutes disparity there could be due to the heat. But, you'd have to look at the race format and a whole lot of other variables to know for sure. Amsterdam, 45 and 48. But first thing that I'm noticing here within Hyrox over this 3-year period is the splits between the first half and the second half of the race have come closer together, and we're even seeing some negative splits start to occur. So the way people are racing this race is has evolved in this particular period, and I think anyone who's been a fan in the 24 season can see that we're seeing people have really good second halves of the race, and I'm sure when we look at the 24 data set next year, we'll see um, a big difference again with how fast people are going through the second half of the race in their race splits. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to sort of just go through a bit of an overview with this because I could be here for an hour or 2 hours to run through this in great detail, but I'm just going to sort of just touch on a few things, and I'll go into some greater detail for those who, are really interested in this. So, next we've got participation number by location. Okay, so we can see here that London, the participation rate was just been off the charts in this particular period. So, London was, the highest there by far, followed by Birmingham and Amsterdam, and another one there at Hamburg, 5,000, London, 13,677. So quite huge there. If we look at 23, London, 8,886 there. So yeah, really massive numbers. That could be to do with London having multiple events throughout the year. Once again, that would be something to sort of have a bit of a look into. But it's a European-based sport, quite big in Europe, so we can sort of see what's sort of happening there. Um, so next one I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at the average time by age group versus the fastest time. So this one here is a little bit more interesting, I guess, because if you're looking to have a go at Hyrox, you want to know what the average time is per age group versus the winning time within particular age group. Okay, so I'm just going to start off on opens because presumably that's where most people go, and we'll go 23 because that's sort of the most recent. Um, and I come from Australia, so we'll go Australia here just to narrow it down a little bit more. We'll go to open. Okay. And I'm just going to do male and female. Okay. So both men and women get to see where they're at. So go to the female one first because it's up top. Okay. So we've got here we can sort of see, okay, so if you're 16 to 24 and you want to compete in Hyrox based on the data of everyone who has competed from Australia in the 2021 to 2023 years, uh, we can, across those seasons, we can see that uh, hour and 11 was the fastest time and in open, and an hour 30 was like the average time, okay, for the females. So um, if you want to do it and you're 20-year-old woman that, is just kind of going through uni, going to the gym, wants to give Hyrox a bit of a shot, like you probably to do well in Hyrox, you want to beat that average of 130. Um, if you're sort of if you can't probably do it in 145, I would say that, it's probably going to be sort of at the back of the sort of pack there. So, running a bit of a simulation and see sort of how you go. Um, so we look over next here, 25 to 29, females in open, winning time an hour and 5 and 42 seconds. So, in an hour and 33 average there. So realistically, an hour and a half is probably a pretty good time for most people to sort of aim for to get into Hyrox because as you can see along here, um, female wise, in the 130s, it's pretty consistent with the average time. Obviously, the older athletes here, once we get out of the 35 to 39, the winning time's still pretty good there in the 40s, but you sort of start to see the average time start to increase with the older athletes. And then 65 to 69, obviously, it's the same time between the fastest time and the average time because there was one in the race probably. So only one Australian woman in that age category that competed in these in 21, 22, and 23, or in 23 we're looking at. So in 2023. So Next, we're going to go to male. So we're going to have a look at the male bridge time by age group. So coming over here next, all right, this is an open men's. So if you're a 16 to 24-year-old male looking to compete in Hyrox, the winning time was an hour and 9:16. So, you want to be breaking an hour 10 if you want to sort of be getting in those podium spots, being contesting for a world championship and representing Australia there. Um, so basically, if you want to represent Australia, go for the minimum times within this data set as a guide. 25 to 29, we've got an hour and one for minimum. So it was the winning time or the fastest time in 23, hour 29 average. Okay, and we can see our averages here again. It's all an hour 32, hour 29. Once again, you're looking at if you can do an hour and a half, average Hyrox, you make up 50% are better than you, 50% are worse than you. It's not a bad kind of target. If you can do an hour and a half, let's say you run 6-minute Ks, your 8 1K runs, for example, um, and you look at kind of um, completing that in 30, 36, 42, 48 minutes. Um, that's not too bad. 48 minutes, and then sort of going, okay, well, I've still got, um, what's that, like another 42 minutes sort of get to that hour and a half. So, you've got, even if you're running 6-minute Ks nice and steady, you've got a fair bit of time to get through those exercises to get to that average spot. So I think, that's pretty kind of achievable for a lot of people that go to the gym consistently, getting around that average time. When we start to look at the faster times here and making a Australian team potentially, we're looking at an hour 2:58 here, at 101. That's sort of looking really now around 4-minute K mark there, or the 32 minutes for 8Ks. So 32 minutes for 8Ks, and then you've got kind of like 28 minutes to get yourself organized through the rock zones and get yourself through all the exercises needed there to qualify for that team. So we can see an upward trend again as it gets a bit older. So if you're an older athlete and you want to have a go, 45 to 49, an hour and 9 was pretty competitive there in open. And then as you get older here into the 60s, an hour and 26, just about is probably the fastest there in the 60 to 64 age category for male open. So that's kind of open there. I'm going to go to pro next because I just want to touch on this because I think this is where most people are going to be, what most people are going to be interested in, and this is what is most relatable to most people that are having a go at Hyrox. Um, so pro here, once again, we can see the participation numbers in pro. Um, so majority of all most of Australians that compete in the pro female division either do Melbourne, Sydney, Singapore, or Hong Kong. So that kind of gives us a bit of an idea there. And we can sort of see here, based on the Australian pro females in 2023, um, the pro female athletes, they had quite a big disparity there between the first half split and the second half split in Sydney. I believe that was the first one Sydney had, maybe 2023. I can just check that. Yeah, so Sydney's first event in 2023, 40 minutes for the first half on average, and then 44:28 for the second half on average. There was nearly a 4.5 minute disparity there between the first and second halves in Sydney and Dubai as a begin. And I don't know for sure, but that those 7-minute disparities are between the first and the second half of the race that don't occur in other locations. I would have to say that heat could be something to do with it, depending on the ventilation of the stadium that's hired out at those events. for Australian athletes, but Australian athletes are pretty good in the heat. So it could be something else. It could just be the structure. Um, yeah, post in the comments down below if you know the reason for that. Okay, so female pro athletes, Australian 2023 average time by age group versus fastest time. So, okay, um, this is going to get interesting here. So your average and your fastest times are going to be a bit quicker here. Um, so let's get into it and see. So down here for 16 to 24, fastest is 122. And then we go 25 to 29, hour and eight. Okay, so that's really sort of come down a little bit in the 2024 season. We've really sort of seen the women really drop their times there, the Australian women. So probably have to be a little bit quicker than that now, but it goes for all this data across the board. Okay, next we have here um, 30 to 34, hour 11, and then the average is an hour 28. Okay, so I would say for pro, you're probably looking at trying to do an hour 10, hour 15 and open. And if you can do that, then you've got a chance of being hitting that hour and a half for, as an average for pro athlete. If you can't sort of hit that 10, 15 minutes faster in open, going into pro race is probably going to be, you're probably going to get crunched a little bit. You're probably not going to be in mid pack. You might be at the front a little bit. So just something to sort of keep in mind there based on the prediction here. So I'm going to go male next. We'll have a look here. Okay, so as we can see, older athletes start to sting out a little bit. It's the same here with females. You know, we, the crazy thing here with females is it's not the same. The older athletes don't sting out. In 40 to 44 females, an hour and nine versus over here 30 to 34, hour and 11, hour eight. They still hang in there, these girls. And there's some really tough women out there that are in their 40s that have kids, that are married, that, live normal lives, that are just, machines in terms of fitness. And it's really just backs that up here because you see, like, obviously, probably in this age group is where majority of women, get married and have kids. So the average starts to increase a bit. But once they've had their kids and they become fit mums, look at this, it just goes down and they get stronger and stronger. So, yeah, definitely not too late for anyone there to get in and have a go. Over here on the men's, it's a bit different. So the older athlete starts to get a bit tighter after 35 to 39. So the based on participation numbers in across this data set, what I noticed when I was putting it together was 30 to 39 in terms of men. It's where the highest participation rate is in Hyrox. So you can see that these times here are really competitive. Even 25 to 29 still really competitive. So this sort of from 25 to 40, really competitive. And then here, once you get over 40, it starts to get a bit harder on the body. You don't sort of see those older athletes performing as well. That could change as these athletes mature. They might be able to hang in there in the 40s, time will tell. And then as you get older, the times start to slow down quite a bit. 50 to 54, you don't see too many men in the pro races between 50 and 54. So, the winner's doing an hour 31 and the average time's an hour 34:59. So not a very big difference there at all. Okay, so coming down here, average time versus winning time, we can sort of see for Australian-based athletes across the different locations. So if we see a match here between these two, and it's directly the same value, that means that one Australian athlete competed in 2023 at that event, and they had the fastest time out of any other Australian. So Madrid, um, you know, some guy in Madrid in 2023 did 58:37. I can't check the athlete's name because they're not on that particular data set. So, I can't sort of check who that is. I'd have to go back in and have a look at the race results on the Hyrox website. Um, and then over here in Dubai, once again, it was just one Australian athlete competing there. It's in Glasgow, uh, Malaga, whatever that country's name is. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of cool there. You can sort of have a bit of a look at, what we're sort of looking at. Okay, cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear everything out here. There's just so many different questions you can answer here. So if we're looking at the global stage in 2023, um, we can see, and we're looking at open females. So now we're looking at on a global scale, what is the difference between the winning time and the average time in open female Hyrox from the year 2023. So if I'm looking here, we've got an hour and four for 16 and 24, and then an hour and 34. So these gaps here are quite significantly bigger as you start to include the whole world. So even if you do an average time here in Australia, your time might might be better than average when we look at a global scale of who's doing Hyrox. Okay, so for Australia, 130 was considered pretty good for average, but here the average for this is all like kind of 132, 133, 134, sort of in mid 130s. So basically, that just backs up the point of what I was sort of just saying is if you're a female and you're doing open Hyrox and you are going an hour 30, you are, you know, 4 minutes, and your average in Australia is still 4 or 5 minutes faster than the average global time for Hyrox, for open female. So you're probably still, let's say, probably top 40, top 35, 40% in the world. I have to look at the data to know, but you're actually quite decent when it comes to a global scale because Australia is quite a competitive country when it comes to Hyrox. We have a lot of top level athletes here, and there's it's quite a big gym culture based on our warmer weather, a lot of the beaches here along the east and west coast have gyms because it's just part of the culture. Everyone wants to look good to go to the gym. It's all about go to the gym. It's all about the look and getting into health and fitness. So, um, yeah, so we've got that there. We'll look at males just quickly, um, and then we can sort of see here. Okay, there's a bit of missing data here. Go on, that was probably just together. No, that's all right. Okay, so yeah, we can see that older athletes there get slower on average in males in open, globally in Hyrox, but we sort of do see consistency there up until the age of 40, where men start to slow down a bit. So you can still be good at sort of like and decent, I guess, in the Hyrox space up until 40. This is basically what the data sort of telling us. The times don't you don't lose too much. Like here, you've got a guy that went 58:26 in the 40 to 44 age group in open. And then here, 58 minutes in the 45 to 49. So you can still be good in your 40s. You just got to um, hang in there and, um, just make sure you're injury free, I would say. So 56 minutes, 54 minutes, 54 minutes. So yeah, you're probably looking at, you know, um, getting to an hour, low hours there in open men's to sort of between, 16 to 24 or say between 16 and 40 if you really want to sort of push that sort of Australian team in open men's Hyrox, I would say to be sort of or be competitive in that top 10% in the world in your age group. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go over. I've got a few more graphs to get through here. If you haven't, or if you're still listening in, really appreciate your time and having a bit of a look into this today with me. So we're going to go through the run times next and time spent in the rock zone, and we're just going to break this down. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to Australia again. I'm going to go open. All right, and we'll go female. All right. So here we can see in open female in Australia, we can have a bit of a look at the run times and the breakdowns. Okay. So obviously the running 65 to 69 is a lot slower there. You can see what on average, we're up there over an hour 12 for the whole thing. Over here, 25 to 29, 30 to 34, 35 to 39, 40 to 44, all pretty sort of close there. But what I want to do is I'm just going to add on quickly. We're just going to go to a data table here. Okay. And this just helps me just break it down a little bit more for you guys. So 16 to 24. Okay. First run on average is 452 for open female. So open female, we've got 452, and then we've got a 536, 557, 601, 616, 615, 601, 722. Okay, so realistically, you want to be able to aim for that 6 minute K mark. If you're getting into Hyrox and you're a female that's doing opens in the 16 to 24 age group, 25 to 29, we start off with a 515 and we finish with a 740 on average. So once again, the 6 minute K mark is kind of a good mark to aim for there. And then as we go out here in these faster age groups, it's still just sub 6 on some of them, that's an average. But I would say, if you aim for 6 minute Ks in open females, and you just want to have a go at Hyrox, I'd say that's a pretty good benchmark. If you're just looking to have a go, and you just want to be a bit better than average and you want to do okay in it. Excuse me. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to have a look at men's. So we'll look at male, same thing. All right. So for men on average here in open, so they're starting out 4:30 on average, but they're finishing at 7:23. So I would say this just goes to show, a lot of men have got a bit more ego sometimes than what women do. They haven't really thought it through. They're just racing each other on that first K or two, and then really, starting to sting out here as time goes on. So, we can sort of see that the running's pretty consistent with men here up until we start to get over 50, and then they really start to slow down a little bit there as the knees get a little bit older. So once again, there's 5, 6 minute Ks here. I would say 5:30s. If you're looking to do men's, try and get around that 5:30 mark would be good to sort of set yourself up for achieving that 1:30 kind of overall time. So running, let's go pro next. Pro men quickly. So this is one of the things here is I wouldn't recommend going pro men's unless you can feel comfortable breaking 5 minute Ks between each exercise that you do in Hyrox. So if you can't break 5 minute Ks for your 1K runs consistently throughout, those really heavy exercises in pro, don't even try it. Like if you're a skinny 140 or 145 half marathon runner and you think, yeah, sub 5 minute Ks is easy, I can do that out all day, I'll be right for the exercises. Like, no, you won't. You'll be debilitated running, 6, 7 minute Ks. So, um, I think the big thing here is you've got to be hybrid strong. So you're going to be strong in the gym, and you've also got to be able to run, you know, 3:30 for a marathon, 140, high 130s for a half, um, deadlifting probably 160 to 180 for pro men, I would say, to really give this a go. In addition to having all the functionality like wall balls and burpee broad jumps and that sort of thing. For women's, if we look at this, I'm looking at a little bit of a breakdown here. We can sort of see that for pro women, you can probably, they start at 357. Okay, there's a bit of yeah, so a few of them still go 6 in this. You don't really see the pros much in this sort of category, but down here, they're pretty strong. So they're still fives, 350 start. They're probably looking at, so even for pro women's, you're probably realistically, you want to be around that 5 minute, low 5 minute K mark at least on those runs and be good at those exercises. So, if you did a 2 hour half marathon or a 4 hour marathon, I wouldn't recommend going pro women's for Hyrox. Your running probably has to be, look, you're probably looking at 145 for a half, and then sort of having the strength in between to be able to sort of hold pace. It's just in my opinion. There might be other coaches that disagree with the information that I'm saying. That's okay, but this is just a bit of a guide. Okay, so breakdown of stations next. Okay, so these are all the different stations. So if I want to just go, I'm just going to go for a general sort of on this. We'll just go open. So I need to wrap this up because otherwise we'll be looking at going for too long. So I'm just going to go all the athletes here in 2023. Okay, so we've got 30 to 34, 35 to 39, 40 to 44. So we can sort of see here that, you know, first one here, people take their time on average in open on ski erg. Like it's not, no one's really rushing out there to kill themselves. If we look at pro, once again, no one's really killing themselves here. It's just steady. It's a steady pace. It's just controlled. Over here, station for sled, 4 minutes. Yep, that's okay. So these are sort of the places to get an average time for Hyrox in the pro division or the open division. So if I'm looking at this here, we'll go with my age group, 30 to 34. So 4:17 on ski, 4 minutes on the sled push. So that's pretty good. So you just go, okay, well, I'm just going to sit on 2 minute pace for the ski. And the other 17 seconds is going to be running through the rock zone and out of the rock zone. And if I do that, then it's average. That's good enough. Over here next, you go, okay, station two. So sled push, 4 minutes. 4 minutes on sled push. You go, yeah, you know what? I can do that. It's, taking a few breaks and, I just need to do a minute per lap to make that. So, as long as I make a minute per lap, and I'm on pace to do that. And then here, first sled pull, okay, 6:29. So 6 minutes, you go, right, I'm going to take a minute 30 or a minute 35 per lap and just sort of pace it out accordingly to keep your heart rate down to stay on the average. Um, and then we go to station four, so burpee broad jump, 4:21. So you break it down, distance of the burpee broad jump um, versus the time, and you pick your time there. Then we go over here and we go to rower, and that's 4:37. So people are starting to sting out a little bit on the roll. So you go, okay, well, we only probably need to do 2:05 pace there to make that average. Um, and then you go, okay, so this is the um, kettlebell farmers carries. So 220, so pretty strong across farmers carries here. No one's really putting these kettlebells down here on average. So, most people, that shows that most people have got a pretty, that do high rocks, have got a pretty sort of strong deadlift in pro division anyway. If we look at open and I go to the same category, yeah, it's the same, about 2 minutes there on average. This is for both men and women. Um, so 5 minutes there then for the lunges. That's pretty tough. Sandbag lunges followed by wall balls there at 6:25 on average to finish with. Okay, so if you break all that down, these are the averages that you want to hit that average time. Okay, for this. So to hit this of 123 of what I was just looking at there in pro men's or in pro not pro men's, sorry, pro Hyrox there. So if you want to with a goal time of 123, you want to be hitting those splits that I just talked about there. So 4:17, 4 minutes, 6:29, 4:21, 4:37, 2:20, 5 minutes, 6:25. Okay, so and then you do your runs in between that. Okay, and we've got our average run time here, so 40 minutes. So it's 5 minute Ks, right? So 5 minute Ks with these times there, and that'll get you a 123 in the pro men's. Okay, or in the pro division, pro men's or women's for Hyrox. Okay, so go down here now. Time spent in the rock zone. So we can sort of see here the average time was spent in or the minimum time spent in the rock zone. So the fastest in and out of the rock zone versus the average. We can see that there's quite a big difference here. Going here, we're looking at 5 minutes on average is sort of where most people spend in the rock zone and Hyrox. For the best athletes, we're looking at 2 minutes down here. Okay, so if you can keep it under 2 minutes, then you're looking at kind of probably more elite 15 sort of stuff, and then 5 minutes is just getting yourself into that average mark. All right. Well, thanks very much for your time today, guys. I really appreciate it. Hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this video or this presentation, and I will look forward to seeing you in the future. Take care.